Lord of the seas, ruler of the roofs, conqueror of the kitchens. You know me. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? There's some new news on the Diddy trial. Ha ha ha. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited. I got to hear a second of it, and it's crazy.
Let's bring in Lisa Evers here. We're learning right now, Lisa, that apparently bond has been denied.
Oh! Oh! My boy going sitting in jail. Ooh-wee.
Okay, that's
Oh!
I don't know if that's getting it. Let's use this one. Let's get Jeremy here. Yeah, Jeremy, can you come back in here when you get a moment? So what we had been positioned for was an argument that because the jury found Sean Diddy Combs guilty only on the lesser of the charges, that there was a presumption that he might be able to go home. The judge even asked him at one point, I imagine you don't want to go back to NBC. He nodded vigorously. Right? Let's use this microphone. I'm not sure if that only works.
What?
Jeremy, if you'll come in here too. Should we start with Jeremy's reaction?
Jeremy Sallin is with us. He's a
He pump faked him? Bud's pump faked him?
Prosecutor. And the bail, the news is that bail has been denied.
Yeah, that the judge.
So the statute says
He's like, I bet you don't want to go back.
bail would be denied, meaning that he goes in and stays in. There's not an exception. For example, there could be an exception where the prosecution says we consent, and there's other pieces to it as well. There could be a danger to somebody or not, but the bail being kept as it is not necessarily atypical because of the law, though one would believe the fact that he was not convicted of the top charge, and it's been a reduction, and people do walk free and come back and RROR'd.
Well, keeping the bail as it is means there's no bail.
Right. So he's remanded, he's held without bail. So this doesn't change the potential sentence, obviously, because it's still up to 10 years, but for the immediate gratification purposes of getting out, doing what he needs to do, and fighting this from the outside in terms of preparing for that sentencing, now it's been stripped.
And let me just add, this morning the prosecution was very adamant about wanting to have this extra time to present their argument to the judge, and seemed obviously they were disappointed with the verdict. It was very visible and very obvious, but they wanted to keep him behind bars, and they said, Your Honor, we need several hours to really get this whole argument together for you, and that's pretty stunning.
But again, I think you have to go back to what the law is and what it allows for, and generally speaking, barring some exception, the Bail Reform Act says you're staying, you're not just getting released. He was convicted of a crime. I think people, rightfully so, are disappointed and have questions from the public's perspective when you have such a horrific allegation that is not proven or substantiated beyond a reasonable doubt, and summarily, we're not talking about on the cusp. That's a pretty quick verdict that I think fooled many people, thinking that there might have been a sex trafficking conviction. He's walking scot-free in terms of any allegation of coercion, force, fraud, violence, but he's still in custody.
Okay, so Jeremy, can we just ask Jeremy, was it a difficult decision for the judge legally?
I think the judge is is not finding any exception in following the law, and that's why he's staying there. The hope from the prosecution,
That's awesome as fuck.
So they didn't raise it specifically in their letter to the court, was that yes, there may be the Bail Reform Act, and that was what the prosecution put their light on, since statutorily you can't just let him walk. The prosecution was hoping, part of the defense was hoping, that the judge would look past that and say, he's returned, he shows that he can follow the court order, he's not going to flee, and he's not a danger to anyone specifically or the community at large.
And then let me ask you this, in terms of the appealing this decision, what's the process now that the defense will have to go through in order to appeal the judge's decision of no bail?
I would expect that he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Whoa!
I think that they're going to follow the judge. I haven't heard what the judge said, so it's hard for me to just speak on an island here. But based on the law as we know it, I think the judge has ample ground to stand on and make this decision.
Let me answer that. Our Sharon Crowley has been watching this and telling us right now the judge says that the government was correct that the detention is mandatory for a Mann Act conviction, what you're indicating, and the judge said that the limited exception to mandatory detention was not met. Sean Combs pointed to his duties as a father and a son, which we talked about, but that does not rise to the level of an appropriate